this day in Tudor history, the 29th of October 1586, Parliament met to debate the fate of Mary, Queen of Scots, just 4 days after she'd been found guilty of conspiring to assassinate Queen Elizabeth I. Their verdict was clear. The Queen's first cousin once removed, a fellow monarch and an anointed sovereign herself, must die. It was decided they should petition Elizabeth to execute Mary. But that decision and Elizabeth's subsequent actions leave us with a question that has echoed ever since. Was Mary a martyr and tragic heroine, or a traitor to the English crown? And could she even be a traitor when she wasn't an English subject at all? I'm historian and author Claire Ridgway, and let's look into this together. Mary's trial had taken place at Fotheringhay in October 1586, but Elizabeth didn't sign her death warrant until the 1st of February 1587, and even then she gave orders that it mustn't be sent until she said so. It's clear that Elizabeth was deeply torn. She was dealing not with a rebellious noble or treacherous courtier, but a crowned queen. A woman with Tudor blood, consecrated by the same sacred oil that marked Elizabeth's own authority. It was an awful dilemma. As historian Alison Weir puts it, if she signed the warrant, she would be setting a precedent for condemning an anointed queen to death. Yet if she showed mercy, Mary would remain the focus of Catholic plotting for the rest of her life. Elizabeth hesitated. She delayed, and she finally signed, but sought to distance herself from the act. She even asked Sir Amyas Paulet, Mary's jailer, if he might quietly dispatch her under the bond of association. Paulet refused, and as Mary's biographer John Guy observes, Elizabeth had contrived things so that she would win whatever happened. If Mary were killed under the bond of association, she could deny responsibility. If her ministers acted on the warrant without her say-so, she could play the victim. Elizabeth may have been paralysed by conscience, but she was never politically naive. When Parliament met on the 29th of October, there was little sympathy left for Mary. To them, she was a proven conspirator. But outside Westminster, and still today, Mary's image was far more complicated. For centuries, Mary has been painted as the wronged queen, the doomed romantic, the beautiful martyr. At her execution on the 8th of February 1587, she appeared dressed in black, carrying a crucifix, and when she removed her gown, she revealed a bodice and petticoat of scarlet, the colour of martyrdom. She died proclaiming herself a martyr for her faith. Even the Catholic Encyclopedia later claimed that she died with the charity and magnanimity of a martyr, suggesting that her execution sprang from hatred of the Catholic faith. And there's truth in that to a point. Mary died as a Catholic queen in a Protestant land, but to call her a martyr for religion is to simplify a far more tangled story. Mary wasn't executed for her faith. She was executed for treason, for her part in the Babington plot to assassinate Elizabeth and to place herself on the throne instead. Now, some argued that she was framed, that William Cecil and Sir Francis Walsingham fabricated the evidence. But that isn't quite true. They didn't invent the conspiracy. They simply let it unfold until they had proof that Mary herself was involved. They intercepted her correspondence, decoded it, and waited. And Mary, tragically, fatally, wrote the words that sealed her fate. In her letter to Anthony Babington, she gave her approval for the dispatch of the usurper, Elizabeth, telling Babington to set the 6 men he'd mentioned in his letter to work, and urging that she herself be transported out of this place once the deed was done. In short, she blessed a plot to assassinate the Queen of England. Walsingham's trap had worked. She had quite literally written her own death warrant. And yet, was she truly guilty of treason? Mary wasn't an English subject. She was a foreign monarch, an anointed queen in her own right, and a prisoner of Elizabeth's for nearly 19 years. Can a captive queen, deprived of liberty and hope, truly be judged by the same laws as her captors? And was she plotting out of ambition or desperation? It's easy to condemn her from afar, but imagine her position, held for nearly 2 decades in isolation, forbidden to see her son, her crown taken, her life reduced to waiting for permission even to walk outside. She believed herself God's rightful queen, and that Elizabeth's rule, declared illegitimate by the Pope, was usurpation. To Elizabeth, Mary was a danger to the realm. To Mary, Elizabeth was the heretic blocking her divine destiny. It depends entirely whose crown you wear when you tell the story. Elizabeth's decision in the winter of 1586-1587 was one of the darkest of her reign, but also perhaps the most inevitable. Mary had been a magnet for rebellion from the moment she set foot in England. Letting her live risked more bloodshed. Killing her risked her own soul. So was Mary a martyr or a traitor, a heroine or a conspirator? Perhaps she was all of them, a woman destroyed by circumstance, pride, and the clash of faith and power in an age that had no mercy for either. So what do you think? Was Mary Queen of Scots the victim of political entrapment and religious hatred, or the author of her own downfall? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy delving into the lives and deaths of Tudor queens and Tudor people, please do like, subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any of my On This Day in Tudor History videos. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.